Hello everyone, today I'm working on this Atlas Oedo and it's really old. Now I bought quite a few of these and I'm hoping I can get them going again. So these are really neat, of course, even though they're old. I just happen to like the way they look and the level of detail. I like this Elesco feed water heater here. And another really neat thing about them is it's a 3-cylinder engine. So as you can see, they have the 2 cylinders on each side. Try to focus in on that. They have the 2 cylinders on each side. And then there's a third cylinder in the middle. And there's all this linkage here to make the third cylinder work. So these, when they go down the track, they sound a little different. Of course, this is a really old Atlas or Rivarossi model, so you don't have to worry about sound because it's too old. And these were a little bit cheaper than the 282. So I've got 4 of them to work on. I tested them out before. This one sorta kinda runs. So I'm hoping, I'm gonna see what's the maximum amount of OADOs I can get to run out of the whole bunch. So this one happens to kinda run, needs a good cleaning and lubrication. This one here, very sad to say that it's a crumbler. And what that means is the frame, move the motor out of the way, the frame has started to decay. I think these are Zamac. The frame started to decay and just crumble away. And when that happens, sadly, there's not a whole bunch you can do. The frame goes crooked just a little bit and then the wheels won't turn no matter what you do. But you can still use this for parts if you need a pilot beam, if you need any side rods, or the wheels are still very good. On this particular unit, the tender also is broken, so that I'm keeping that for parts, but the truck here is broken, so that won't ever run again. The motor is good though. Everything else is bad, but the motor is good. Let me just put some power to that so you can see. So it's a good news, bad news type of deal where the uh, the frame is no good, but the motor is good. And I can't repower these because my shaft is too short on my donor motor. The shaft is way too short, so it won't hold the worm gear. Plus, yeah, it's kind of too short. I should try it. Plus, getting the worm gears off is quite a bit hard. Quite a bit hard to do. So maybe I'll try it. Anyways, this one motor is good. So I know I can get another engine going from that. So just to recap, I wanted to show you a bad motor. Well, this one actually might run. So I'm going to give it a good cleaning and then we'll see if I can get it going again. That would be awesome. This one is a little bit weak though. Sometimes they overheat. What happens is one of the 3 phases, it's getting really hot. I had to let go. One of the 3 phases stops working. So they'll just do half a turn. But this one might be salvageable. We'll see about that. This one is one of the bad motors. I'm putting power to it. And there's just one phase that's working. Even if I spin it, I got a lot of power now on this. So if I just spin it a little bit, it only works on one phase. And that's it. Dead in the water. So let's work on that black one and see if I can get it going again. I'm going to be using this frame for it. This frame still runs very well. We have a winner here. So I'll use this frame for it. And then put that one aside. So that's a very good motor, that one. This one, let's see if we can bring it back. So I'm going to pull on the brushes. You got to be careful when you do that because there's a very little spring in there, and then your motor brush, of course. Now, if I get in there and I find it's time to change the motor brush, that's the perfect time to do it while everything's in my hands. So let's see. I use gravity to hold the brush in place. Whoa! Yeah, you do not want to be pulling on the black part until you get the brushes out, because you will rip the commutator from the wires. That can go there. The brush actually looks okay. The brushes don't really need any maintenance. They are self-cleaning really. But the commutator, the part on the armature, that needs maintenance. I got my brush and I got my little spring. Hard to show on camera, but there it is. That goes on the side there. Now I can pull on the black part. See, if you don't focus that, if you don't remove the brushes, you'll be pulling on this, and then you'll be ripping that little commutator out from the little wires connecting to it. The little wires are very tiny, so if you break them, I don't have the microscopes to resolder that. I do not. That is some good coffee. How I clean my brushes, I like to make strips out of cardboard, and I will just rub it against the commutator until it cleans it up. It's that easy. So I'll work on that off camera, but this is basically what I do. I'll just rub it against the commutator till it cleans it up. Quite a bit dirty. And also, this little separation here, hard to show because everything's so small. This little separation here, that can get filled with graphite. So you have to come in every 25 years or so and just empty it of graphite. So there's 3 of them to do. And of course, since I have everything in my hand, now would be a good time to lubricate everything. We're about to see if it's going to make a difference. I'm hoping that yes, that would be great. The lubrication sure helps. Then we'll reintroduce the brushes. This little plate here helps contact the frame, so that goes to the top. Apparently it's a long way to the top if you want to rock and roll. And this one will go on the side. That picks up electricity from the tender. Let's put some power to it. I always start them with low power, so I'm just going to increase my power a little bit at a time. There's one phase that isn't happy. At any rate, I'm going to increase the power just a little bit. Still not too happy. So I had to start it with my hand. So it's not looking too good for this motor. I'm just gonna let it run like that for a bit, see it stopped. That's not a good sign. So I think I have 2 of the 3 phases working. So that would be another, maybe a parts motor. I'm gonna let it run like that for a little bit in case it comes around. You never know, but it's not looking good for this one. I'm gonna let it run like that for a minute or 2. I'm running full power here, so it won't start on its own. I have to start it with my hand. So if I put that in my locomotive, um, it's not gonna start on its own. I have to turn it. So there's definitely one of the phases is burnt out, and too bad, so sad. This is just gonna be junk, unfortunately. Yeah, see, it won't start on its own. So these were all sold as non-running, remember? So that will be that. It won't come around. Though I like playing with these. Just for a comparison, this is my good motor, and it starts on its own. I'm gonna do the same thing to it. I'm gonna lubricate everything and clean the commutator. This one runs famously well, and I'm going on low voltage here. That's awesome. Now I have to dial in the chassis. I'm gonna focus on the first one, and then if I have enough time, I'll do the second one. So here's my chassis. It is not a crumbler, this one. So there's not that many moving parts to it. Basically, you come in from the bottom. There's 2 little screws. You have to remove this plate to remove the motor. So what that means to you is you have to put this plate in last. And there's a big screw here that holds your steam chest, and it holds your pilot beam. And we'll remove the wheels, we'll remove everything just so you can see what makes it tick. And you have to time the drivers. Also, it picks up electricity from this side of the track. You can see there's a blue plate. I'll show you on this one. There's a blue plate on that side, and there's no plate on this side. Essentially, the drivers are see-through. See, on this side, they are not see-through, but on this side, they are see-through. So, it was like that before. If you put it like this, you create a short circuit. So keep that in mind as you clean the engine and put everything back together. And I think I'm going to remove this is called the excenter crank. We're going to remove that. It's a tiny little screw. You do not want to lose that. Do it off camera. It is stuck in there. It's stuck in there good. So I won't be able to remove that. At any rate, I can remove the other drivers. Now, as I put it back together, it's going to make, not being able to remove the excenter crank is going to make it tougher. But it's still possible to do it. This has a little hook for the main rod. That's your number 1 driver. Number 2 driver has nothing. Number 4 driver has nothing. And then the number 3 driver is your main driver. So that's got everything. See, these, I can't remove these also. gonna make it tough to put it back together, but I can do it. I've done it before. Let's see if by any chance I can remove this pilot beam. That makes it easier. Yeah, I won't be able to remove the driver from the engine, but that's okay. We'll run it like that. And then here's your steam chest with the pilot beam. Is that really just one part? That has intricate details. You can see this rod here is detached from the rest. That is really cool. Actually, it does feel one piece. Oh, but it's not. It's just stuck in there really hard. But that's okay. I don't need to break any of this. I love all these details. So we'll just set that aside for now. Then we'll take a look at our gears. We have 3 idlers on the top there. So we'll start by lubricating these. We'll check them out and then we'll lubricate them. I'll check them out with my screwdriver just to make sure they're free, which they are. Check them all out. This one's connected to the worm gear, which is on the motor. And it runs to number 3 and everything feels great. So you have access to them. You can remove this plastic plate and then get the gears out. If you need to do some deep cleaning, that's how to do it. But today I won't need to. I'll just put the oil on them from the outside. A little access hole on the outside. And just put oil on that. And let gravity draw it in. Third one there. Or just let gravity draw it in. Something weird that happened to me. There's a pin here that holds all the valve gear together, and it just disintegrated on me. I've never had that happen to me before. Usually these are pretty solid. That is a little bit odd, but it's okay. I'll just use some cyanoacrylate or crazy glue to put it back together. So then, once you have your wheels in your hand, you clean them however you want. I like to use my my rag and my nail, things like that. And I think this is the contactor. Yeah, that's the contact side. Actually, only need to clean this one for the locomotive to run. I'm going to clean both of them because I want it to look good. See, it's got 2 purposes. You want your locomotive to look good, and you want your wheels to be clean so they can pick up electricity. My Broadway Limited 464, it did not have, the see-through, focus that. It did not have the see-through drivers like this one does. So that's something I wish they would do more. At this point, I'll clean everything with my toothbrush and some dish soap. Look at that. Atlas, made in Italy. That's really neat. So I'll clean everything, including the wheels, with some dish soap and my toothbrush. And while I'm lubricating everything, it'll have time to dry out. I feel I'm ready to put everything back together now. So if this should ever happen to you, don't panic. I'm gonna crazy glue it back together. So there's 2 little slits here and a little hole here. So just put that back exactly the way it was. Now I'm not gonna put the motor in just now because I want to be able to move the wheels. With the motor in, the wheels won't move. So you have to be careful about that. So I'll line up these as best as I can. And then once I got them lined up, I will bring the what's left of the pin. I'll bring back what's left of the pin, and then I'll glue that together. I'll put the glue off camera, but that's all you gotta do. Just bring this in, and I'll glue it back together. Now remember, the drivers have to be timed together. At any rate, the main driver, the number 3 driver, is very easy to roll, so we'll place it in a way that I can time the other drivers together. So this is the number 1 driver. We'll just set it aside. The number 4 and the number 2 are about the same. So this should just slide in here, and then make sure that they're timed properly together. And this has to be very precise. You don't have too much leeway into this. It has to be perfect. Then we'll put the number 3. Oh, don't forget, there's a side that's bluish and there's a side that's see-through. Hope I can show this. There's a blue side and there's a see-through side. This is the see-through side, so the see-through side goes here, the blue side goes there. If you mess it up, you will have a short circuit. Ask me how I know. See, I feel this should go back out half a gear. And they do allow you to have a lot of adjustment. Yeah, that one's pretty good. And then the number 1 driver will have the connecting rods on it. So you want to make sure and pass that correctly over that. So you want that to line up perfectly. And then the number 1 driver has the side rods, so that has to be timed 100%. But that actually feels really good, really good. I got all my blue sides there, so I'm off to the races. At this point, you have to bring in your motor, and you have to squeeze the little light bulb in its little hole first, and then bring in the this plate. So we're looking good. So just slide in your little light bulb all the way to the back as far as you can get it. Then let's stretch out the wire just a little bit. So you can let it stretch out. That is okay. Then bring in your motor. Hold your wheels in so they don't go away. You can't move this anymore. That's okay. We're gonna bring in the 2 little screws here, and then that plate. You have to bring in the 2 little screws first because the plate gets in the way. One thing I try is check again if the line is a lot of alignment. So I'm going to redo it now before I put in the plate. Actually, before you bring in the plate, you have to bring back the plate. And you go one way, okay. So first I get this side's piston rod in, and then I'll do the same thing to the other side. I'll just help the piston rod go to its home where it's been for the last few years. There, that lined up pretty good. Excellent. Now I can bring back that plate with its little screws. Now if you find that your wheel timing is off, all you gotta do is remove this one little plate and you can readjust everything. So it's not that hard to do. You don't have to take everything off again. You have to take this plate off to get to the motor though. But it's nice, this engine. I like the way it looks. It's a good looking engine. So now the drivers can't get out. Oh, you know what I forgot to do? I forgot to lubricate them. Just like I said a minute ago, if you find that they're out of alignment, all you gotta do is remove this plate, which is not that hard to do. So I will do it. The only maybe problem is your drivers can fall out again, and then you've got to restart the timing process, which is hard, but at the same time, it's N scale. So if you want to get into N scale engines, that's the way that goes. Okay, we'll lubricate this. There's just bearings on each side. This is not the highest technology. They just ride in the frame, and that should be what they get. So each driver gets 2 drops. And then bring the little plate back. That wasn't that hard now, was it? Super easy, barely an inconvenience. Getting that screw in though is a little bit of a pain. And for N scale, these screws are big. Yeah, everything feels good. At this point, we can put power to the motor and test out everything. The little light bulb, it can work as a voltage meter. You can tell what the voltage is by how bright the little light is. That's the first step on my power pack, and then the second step, and then the third step. So it still needs a little bit of help, but it's running on the third step of my power pack, which is good. So there's not too much internal friction, which means the motor doesn't get too hot. So running on the bench is one thing. Now let's go try it on the track. In my excitement, I almost forgot. I am working on a way to get the worm gear off. Northwest Short Line makes a tool for this, for HO scale. For N scale, that tool is just a little bit too big. So I'm working on a solution for that. I'll make the video when I got it figured out. But getting the worm gear is very tough. I have a lot of pry bars and saws and you name it, I have it. And if you damage the worm gear, getting it off the shaft is no good. You're not going to be able to do anything with it. So also, what I almost forgot in my excitement is you have to clean your tender wheels very precisely. So as you can see on the tender, this side does not pick up electricity and this side does. So if you put it backwards, then you'll create a short circuit. So that I'm being extremely careful with this because the plastic is getting brittle after all these years. So I'll be cleaning that and putting it back together. All right, let's just put some power to it. So I'm going to let it shake itself down like that for a little bit, and then we'll see. As I do the shakedown run, I'm keeping tabs on how hot the motor gets. If it gets too hot, I'll shut it down, let it cool down, and start over again. So far, so good. That seems to run well. I'm gonna put the shell back on. And even run them kind of slow. That is gonna be that. I'm sure that way back when this was a favorite amongst Steam buffs. I'm really glad I can play with this. It's actually a really neat little engine. Glad I could bring it back for a second life. They, of course, today have much better running models like Mate 1 a few years back, and 080, which is more detailed and runs better. At any rate, today we're enjoying this. So it's time to run some trains. I'm still using my DL2. I still enjoy it. Well, I hope you enjoyed the video. I certainly had fun making it for you. See you soon.